right, welcome to another new episode of the Podratix Gaming Cast. I almost forgot the name of that podcast that we we just titled it.
That podcast.
It's that one, you know. It's that one. It's that podcast.
You know, gestures vaguely.
I'm Zach, joined by the artistically amazing Sophia. It feels weird asking you how you are because we've literally been talking for like almost an hour before this, so.
Well, it's good to check in then. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. So what games have you been playing that aren't your backlog? Anything new?
No. I guess not. I've just been playing the one.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. So I've been playing Mario Golf Super Rush, which I've been enjoying. I've been seeing a good bit of hate for this game. I'm not exactly sure why.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, some people are just like saying it's really disappointing. So
it's golf. What did they expect?
Yeah, it's just kind of like it's more Mario Golf. It's got some cool new courses. They're all kind of they're all like open world courses in a way, so they're all interconnected. And that's because of the speed golf mode, because you can just pick up your clubs and run around. So you have like 2 minutes, I think, to clear each hole. And there's like power ups and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That sounds like no holds barred golfing.
Yeah, you can draft other players like in Mario Kart.
Wow.
Like smack into them.
They really let you like smack your opponents?
Yeah, I mean not with the clubs. You like run into them or do special moves, but yeah.
Wow. Why are people mad about this game? This sounds amazing.
It's honestly quite fun. I've been playing both like the button mode, and then they also have the motion controls, which they're decently accurate. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this. I used to play golf in high school, so I do actually know what it feels like to swing a golf club. And This isn't quite it, but it is more accurate because my scores are a lot higher.
Huh.
Which is not a good thing if you know golf. So.
Oh.
You want a low score.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
It's been a bit since I've played golf. I forgot.
Yeah, so, and then there's like I don't know if you watch the trailers, there's like a battle golf mode. So it's just giant arena with multiple holes. And then you all start like on different corners. And then you're basically anytime someone hits it into the hole, that hole disappears permanently. So if there's two people fighting over it, then it's like you can be putting, and if somebody gets it right in front of you and it just rolls over nothing.
This sounds like they had an idea for a Mario Party game, and they're like, well, hold on. Let's make this the entire game.
It has a story mode too, with RPG mechanics.
Now, I guess how is this the same team that graced us, blessed us even with Mario Tennis Aces?
It is.
Okay.
I think it's better than Aces. I don't think
it sounds like it by virtue of having things to do.
It actually feels like a finished game, which is nice. I don't know if I ever told you, they patched the menus into Mario Tennis Aces. So, like, they had very basic menus, but they looked like the dev kit version, like some early development version. And then halfway through, like 6 months into the 12 months of content, they added, like, oh, here's the real menus. By the way, here's the ability to actually pick which courts you want to play on. Before, you had to toggle a thing to pick which stages you didn't want to play on. And then it would randomize between the ones that were still selected.
Oh, wow.
So, yes, it is significantly better than Aces at launch. I haven't played Aces recently. I heard it's gotten better, but they lost me already. So
Yeah, this just sounds far and away a much better experience.
Yeah,
It sounds like an absolute hoot to play. Like if you get a bunch of friends together.
Yeah.
This sounds like it would be so much fun.
Yeah, it definitely does. I haven't. I've only been able to play with my sister so far, so. But we'll see. And then I've also been playing. I don't know if you've heard of this game. It's a new indie title that just came out. It's called Ender Lilies.
No, I haven't heard about that.
So it's like a 2D Souls-like Metroidvania, because there aren't enough of those. But this one is really really fun. The core mechanic that kind of separates this one, because it still has like you die, you have to go back. There's rest spots where you can save your progress and whatnot. But every time you defeat one of the, I forget what they're called, like basically the bosses of the game, you purify them at the end after you beat them, and then you acquire their spirit, and then that becomes a move that you can set in your like button mapping. So you have like the one spirit that you have from the beginning with a sword, and then every time you get a new one, you can swap those out for the X and A buttons. So B is always jump, Y is, well, I think you can even swap out Y. So you can basically, there's like cooldowns on some of them. Sometimes like a lot of them will have like, you can use this move 16 times before the next rest area. And then there's also like flowers that you can hit that will regenerate some of those. But it's a really cool concept. So every time you battle a boss, you know you're going to get its ability. But you can only have 3 at a time.
Mm.
And then those ones, you can level up your main character, because the actual character, Lily, the main character, does not fight. It's all the spirits that do the fighting for her. So you just control her jumping and dodging. And then your face buttons control which spirits that you attach. So it's very addictive. And possibly, I'm still pretty early on, but it might be my new favorite Souls-like. But that's not saying much because I didn't like Bloodborne, so.
What? You don't like Bloodborne?
No, I hate that game.
Bloodborne's so cool.
It's aesthetically very cool.
Bloodborne is so cool.
Okay.
I like Bloodborne a lot. I really wish that I had a PlayStation 4 so that I could play Bloodborne.
All right.
That's my opinion. Ender Lily sounds very fun. I'll
Okay.
have to give it a look.
It's a little pricey for an indie game. It's $25, but so far it's been worth it. I'm only like a couple hours in, so I've heard it's like pretty long, like 15 plus hours without a completionist run.
Okay. I'm not sure when, because the game that I've been playing, I guess, is technically my backlog game. So I'm not sure if I should go ahead and talk about that.
I guess we can save that for after.
Save that for after?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
So do you want to move on to news? Because I feel like there's only one topic that we probably both want to mention.
Yeah, let's talk about this hot goss that just kind of just dropped on us, much like Paper Mario and the Origami King. Nintendo just dropped a new Switch model in our laps.
Yes, called the Nintendo Switch in parentheses OLED model. That's the official title.
Yeah. So I can't help but find this whole situation just very funny. Because I've been seeing nonstop like articles about like leaks, rumors, hints, tips that a pro model Switch is coming, and just being like, Nintendo's gonna do a Nintendo, and they're gonna. I think somebody did online said. Oh look! It's the new Switch Pro Monkey's Paw edition. So we got the Switch Pro
and title too.
We got the Switch Pro in like the worst way possible.
Because I believe the OLED screen, the screen size, resolution, including like the new wide backplate kickstand thing, that was all leaked, but the new chipset was not correct. And I'm wondering now.
Well, there isn't a new chipset.
No, that's what I mean. That's the one thing that everyone was saying was going to be in this, and that just wasn't. The most important part.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has a 7-inch OLED screen as opposed to a 6.2-inch LCD. It's got the wide kickstand.
Yeah, it goes like all along the length of it, which I honestly think is like it should have had something like that, because the flimsy kickstand on the standard model is just like it's not enough. It just isn't enough.
Now here's a question: do you still use your Switch in tabletop mode?
No.
I think it's been since like 2017 that I've used it. So I was like, it's cool, but I feel like that dream that Nintendo has where we're just going to be at a coffee shop and flip out our Switch, hand somebody a Joy-Con, and be playing in tabletop mode, I feel like that's kind of over. I guess they don't.
Yeah, like I mean, I kind of understand if like you're somebody who's traveling and maybe you don't, you're not going to be in a place where you can, like if you're on a train or something, or you're on a flight, you don't want to like tie your arms like by holding it. Like I get that. I guess that's pretty cool that you can just kind of prop it up and play it like that. That's cool. But like otherwise, it's a nice to have, but not something that I find myself ever really needing to do, because I usually either just play it in handheld or I just plug it into the dock.
I still remember so it's been redesigned. I don't know if it's any better padded, because I know scratching the Switch screen is still an issue. It's scratched the bezels on mine. It hasn't actually scratched the screen.
I need to get a new screen protector for mine, because it's just scratched all the heck. Because that may have more to do with me just kind of casually tossing it into my bag whenever I travel.
Gotcha.
So anyway.
So it also has an Ethernet port in the back.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Is cool.
I'm surprised that like it should have been there. It's so wild. Like the Switch, it should have had a larger screen, should have had a better kickstand, and the dock should have had an Ethernet port. And it's so wild that it's been, I don't know how much, it came out in 2017, right?
Yeah, so it's been about 4 years, 4.25 years, I think, at this point.
Yeah. So it's been so long, and it's only now getting these quality of life upgrades.
That's such a Nintendo thing, though. It really is.
Yeah.
It's like the new 3DS, but worse.
Yeah.
That at least had a new CPU.
Yeah. Had a better browser.
Yeah.
Still does, because you can mess with the video speed with the C stick, and that's always fun.
That's cool. I wonder if they'll improve the Switch's internet browser. Oh wait,
by giving it one. Yeah, it's the same processor. It's got like it's got better speakers, I guess. The thing that I'm the angriest about, I guess, is that they're not updating the Joy-Con.
Still,
it's the same Joy-Con models. It's just different color.
Yeah, like I feel bad, but I almost kind of want one of these court cases to land, just because like this is ridiculous. I'm gonna have to buy another set of Joy-Cons. Both of mine are so bad right now. I have a set where the left one, if I even breathe on it, it just starts doing whatever it wants to do.
Ugh.
And it doesn't matter. It's not like, oh, it goes up. No, it's like it goes left, then up, then diagonally down.
You can't figure out what it wants to do.
Yeah, recalibrating it doesn't work. So It's too far gone.
Yeah, if you go too far trying to take it apart, then good luck putting it back together.
Right.
And then your warranty's void.
It's basically my Ring Fit Joy-Con. That's all I use it for, because you don't need the stick for it. So, so I guess, do you have any interest in this thing?
Not really. Because I already have, like, I've got the original model, which would, like, this doesn't do anything new.
Right.
Like, if I could get my hands on that dock, I might be interested. Just
they are selling it separately.
Okay. Is it confirmed that it's like compatible?
Yes, it is compatible. It's only available through Nintendo's online store, though, I believe. So, I feel like that's going to be one of those, like, good luck finding one.
Yeah.
Nintendo will make 3.
Yep.
It's also $350. I guess we should have mentioned that. So there's a price increase, which is weird to me because, like, it's been almost 4.5 years now. How is that technology not cheaper to make?
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't...
Like, I would rather that they wait until they're actually going to put out a new generation of the Switch before upgrading it like that, because it just feels like such a needless update.
Right.
You know, people have been saying, here's another aspect is that, like, the device display is still 720 and it still only outputs 1080p. You know, people have been saying, you know, I would love to have OLED. I'd love to have 4K. Love to have 1080 on the device. I would like a solid 60 frames in my games, please.
I take 30 at this point. Half the games I play are like 15 to 20. Getting to some Banjo-Tooie level.
Woof.
Yeah, so it's one of those things, like, I know once it's out, I'm just going to be, every time I play in handheld mode, I'm like, I could be playing on an OLED.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I had a PlayStation Vita, one of the original OLED versions. So, like, I know how nice that is to play. But I'm like, it's so expensive. And I could be using that money towards a new graphics card or, you know, a Series X or a PS5 or, heck, even a VR headset or something. Like, there's a lot of other cool gaming stuff that gives me access to, like, new games with better performance that I could just put this towards. So... But I don't know, I find it weird that this is an upgrade only to the handheld portion, because they have a device that does that already.
What is that?
The Switch Lite.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's a more portable Switch.
They kind of had, like, the regular Switch and then the Switch Lite as, like, here's the one if you want to play in both handheld and docked, or if you just want to play docked. And then the Switch Lite is the one you play for handheld mode. And then now they're doing this one that's like, it's like the original Switch, but with a better handheld model. It's like, what? How about the better TV model? I don't know. It's strange, too, because they showed it alongside the regular Switch, but I can't imagine this won't replace it. I feel like the reason that they put this in for $50 more is so that they can get rid of their regular stock, and that this is going to eventually, next year probably, drop down to $300. There's a little prediction. Yeah. You heard it here first if it happens. The Podratix prediction.
Stay tuned for more more reliable gaming insights.
Yeah, because the other thing is, I feel like we're not that far from getting a successor, right? Like the next gen Switch.
Yeah.
Because their consoles usually go about 5 to 6 years. The only one that's broken that 5 to 6 year span is the Wii U with 4.5 or 4.25. So I kind of feel like within the span of, March 2022 to March 2023, we probably will know of the next Switch.
Yeah, or it's gonna be like it was during the Wii U era.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna hear the code name, and everybody's just gonna go absolutely bananas, like speculating. What could it mean?
Right. Well, because don't we already have a code name for it? There was testing on the firmware for some 4K enabled device.
I don't know. I don't remember if it had a code name. I remember. I think I remember what you're talking about, but I don't. I don't remember if it had like a code name
I just remember
or
people were
something.
freaking out that there was some new code name, and it was referencing something that did output at 4K. I don't know how they found that. I don't do data mining, obviously. So,
They're gonna come out with the Nintendo Switch 2.
but I do know a lot of developers have been kind of mentioning this. They're the developers of, what is it, like the Yuden Chronicle or something. It's like a Kickstarter game from the
Oh no, no, no.
creators of Suikoden.
Wa-
That's
Was wasn't it that like Nintendo was asking developers to create assets that are 4K ready?
that was another thing. Yeah, that happened like last year. This was just recent where they mentioned for this Kickstarter that they were targeting. It wasn't going to be coming out on Switch, but instead Nintendo's next generation platform. So I don't know. It's all just speculation at this point, but I would imagine they'd probably do something like they did with the 3DS, especially if there's backwards compatibility. I would imagine with the Switch and whatever the next Switch would be. That like because Nintendo said they want to get like what 7 or 8 years out of the Switch, which is how much they got out of the 3DS, but that really kind of died like 2 years early. They were just kind of releasing like here's Luigi's Mansion, and then like here's a remake of a DS game. Here's a couple localized games.
Yeah, it's not like the DS, which it was like going strong right up until the end,
Right. Yeah, I
even
felt
a little bit after. I feel.
right. Yeah, I kind of felt like the 3DS was on life support for 2 years. So
Hmm. It's so weird because like the 3DS lasted a really long time, but it took a long time to get going.
yeah, it did.
And then it felt like it kind of died early, and everybody was just waiting for the Switch.
Right. Especially with the Wii U, because everyone was just like, no one wanted to buy that by 2016. Like
Hmm.
they knew there was something else coming out. So, do you have any other thoughts on Switch OLED?
Um, no, I think that's about it. I think it's kind of silly.
Yeah.
And it makes me laugh that everybody is getting like really upset about it. When this is Nintendo. Nintendo's going to do what Nintendo does best, which is not whatever it is that you want, and not in the way that you expect it.
Right. They're just all about doing their own thing. So,
Yeah, Nintendo very much marches to its own beat in a way that I feel like nobody else does.
yeah, absolutely. So do you want to get into our discussion?
Yeah, let's hit it.
So for this week, we're going to try something a little bit different, and we're going to do a Nintendo console tier list. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see the footage. If you're listening to it, we'll try and do a good job describing it.
Yeah, I also cannot see it, so
Yeah.
I'll make sure that you do a good job of describing it.
I'll go back
Um,
over once we're done to
okay.
the different tiers. So, all right, so let's get right into it.
What are the tiers?
So it's S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, and D tier.
Okay, D being the worst and S being
Yes.
the absolute best.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what do we got first?
Okay, so first up is the NES. Where do you want to put this one?
Um, can you, for each console, can you just read like the first, the first sentence on Wikipedia about it?
I can try looking that up.
Hold on. Actually, I can do that. Here,
true.
I'll contribute it. Okay, so we got the not Nespresso. What is that? NES.
The Nintendo Entertainment
Nashville Electric Service. No.
That's the one.
Nintendo.
We're going to be ranking electric services.
Entertainment System. Okay. Here we go. This is quality content. The Nintendo Entertainment System is an 8-bit third-generation home video game console produced by Nintendo. Nintendo first released it in Japan as the Family Computer, or FC, commonly known as the Famicom, in 1983. The NES, a redesigned version, made its debut in test markets in the United States in October 1985, before becoming widely available in the rest of North America and other countries during the following years.
This reading has been presented by Sophia.
And brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you.
So I guess like with each console, we'll kind of take into account like its overall design. If it has a user interface, I guess that can count. Controller or buttons if it's a handheld, and library, which has to be original, so no ports. But backwards compatibility can be a plus. How about that?
Okay. Yeah.
Just a plus rather than like talk about like, oh well, it can play all your DS games, or if you're talking about the 3DS or something. Because that kind of seems unfair.
It on its own merits.
Right.
Like that can be a plus, but that should not be like. It has to stand on its own.
Yeah.
Assuming that you. Okay. So NES.
I kind of feel like this might be controversial. I kind of feel like it's C tier. I love it, but it was garbage hardware that I still fight with to this day. The controller was very cool but uncomfortable. Very innovative though. But the thing is, like, a lot of its library of games are very dated feeling. So I don't know. I'm kind of between B and C for this. I'm sure that's very controversial.
Yeah, I want to say it's a C. I think that there's been like maybe like I could probably count on my hand the number of NES games that I've enjoyed playing, and I can't even think of them off the top of my head.
I can think of a good amount, but I feel like most of them are just not very good.
Yeah. I mean, I got to give it credit where credit is due. Like it did undoubtedly play a hand in the famous in revitalizing the video game industry.
Right.
You know, after E3, not E3, sorry, ET. Absolutely destroyed it. Although that wasn't specifically ET's fault. That was just kind of that's a whole different topic. So, you know, I give it props for that. The design of it, definitely iconic. You see this gray box anywhere, you know exactly what it is.
Right.
And so like it's got nostalgia points for that just because it's perfectly retro. And I really do admire that about it. Like I love something that it just can be really aesthetically pleasing. Super Mario Sunshine. So
I won't argue there.
Yeah, I'm kind of waffling between a B and a C, but I'm gonna go with C just because, you know, it's very dated. Like you said, the hardware is very bad, and I can't think of a single game that I enjoy playing.
Wow.
that is on the NES.
Wow. Not even Super Mario Brothers 3 or like the Mega Man games? Contra?
I don't really like Mega Man. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I've tried playing Mega Man, and I just don't enjoy it.
Well, okay then. Yeah, I guess if like
Hot gamer takes, shots fired.
yeah, I feel like if you don't like that kind of game, I can see how you really wouldn't like really anything on the NES.
Yeah. See, the thing is, like, I can appreciate like the characters and whatnot, but like I cannot go. I love the way that Mega Man looks, and I love all the Robot Masters and all that, and I like good for them. I just do not like to play those games.
Gotcha.
So I appreciate them for what they do, and I cheer on anybody that enjoys enjoys what they enjoy, but not for me. This is a C tier for me.
I feel like a lot of its library are games that they're like super hard and require a lot of memorization, which I enjoy, but not a lot of people do. So
yeah, it comes from an era of like developers creating games like home. I think the a lot of stuff is typically like very very arcadey, like like arcade cabinet type games,
right?
And so they design these home arcade games, which have the same sort of design influences as those arcade cabinet style games. Just don't have to keep pushing quarters into it to keep playing.
Yeah.
But the game is still punishing.
Yeah, I can see that.
And that's that when you're not gambling your money, it's less fun. when there's nothing but time on the line, then it's just annoying.
Yeah, because I know you're particularly not a big fan of Ninja Gaiden, so
no,
I think that's fair to say. Okay, moving on. So Game Boy is next. These are in order of release.
Okay.
I know where I want to put this, but
let's okay. Here, let me pull it up. Game Boy. All right, the Game Boy is an 8-bit handheld game console developed and manufactured by Nintendo, the first handheld in the Game Boy family. It was first released in Japan in April 1989, then in North America 3 months later, and lastly in Europe more than 1 year later. It was designed by the same team that developed the Game & Watch series of handheld electronic games and several Nintendo Entertainment games, system games, and then it lists them. So yeah, I love this gray brick. I love this good gray brick. Are you? Oh, here's a quick question. Are we going to do variants on the tier list?
They have to be new.
Or
consoles.
are we going to go with like major, like first edition?
Yeah, variants count.
The Game Boy had a few.
Yeah, variants count. Everything up to the Game Boy Color, because obviously that's a different beast entirely.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, variants count.
Okay. Yeah, I think this like this is a push an S tier for me.
Okay.
I love the
Okay, so here's a hot take for you. I was gonna say D tier.
Oh no. You don't like this gray brick?
Here's the thing. It's very nostalgic. Very classic. I think most of its games... See, this is where, like, I think most of its library is not very good. This is one where I can count on, like, one hand the games that I genuinely love on this gray brick. So this is going to be interesting. This is already off with some pretty different takes.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I have a kind of a soft spot for it because like I grew up with a Game Boy Pocket.
Okay.
And so, you know, I had Tetris Plus. I had Toy Story, which I love Toy Story, but that was a bad game. um, what else? I had like Monster Truck Rally, which was like my dad's game. I had a couple others, but there's stuff like Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening,
Right.
Kirby's Dream Land. So like I have very fond memories of like these like specific games, and like the aesthetic of the device itself is just really very very strong for me. Like I've recently kind of started dabbling in like designing like my own like cell phones or gadgets and whatnot, to like just thinking about like what sort of things would fit in the universes that I like to create, that I like to draw characters in, like what would their phones look like.
Right.
And taking a lot of inspiration from things like the Game Boy, and you know, just generally retro tech of the 80s and 90s.
Okay. See, I didn't
like,
grow up with an original Game Boy. That's where I started with the Game Boy Color. So.
No, I always wanted a color. Everybody I knew had a color. I had a Game Boy Pocket, so there were some games that like I remember there was one time this kid in my youth group and I traded games, and I didn't realize at the time that Game Boy Color games just won't work on
dang
classic Game Boy. So they had they got to play a game and I didn't.
That's depressing.
Yeah, it was a little sad, but you know what can you do?
Okay, so I'm thinking we compromise with a B. Can we compromise
I'll
with a B?
settle. Yeah, I'll settle on a B, because I've also, like, I only mentioned like a handful of games.
Yeah.
But I can't think of any others that I've heard of that are good. Like obviously there's classic Tetris.
Right.
I will speak positively about Tetris Plus.
That's one of the games.
That is one of the games.
I mean, on my list of like maybe two hands of games that I genuinely still love playing.
Mm-hmm.
Super Mario Land 2. Did you ever play that one? The 6 golden
No,
coins.
I never had that one, but I did have Super Mario Land, like the first one.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was like if you had a Game Boy, that just almost came with it. You know, it didn't, but like it might as well have. Everyone I knew had that game.
Yeah, that was the game. Well, Tetris was the game.
Well, right.
Super Mario Land was close second. Yeah, I think that it definitely left an impression on the industry as a whole, and it certainly has left an impression on my heart. So I think, but not like it had a really good, really. I don't know. I feel like I'm getting all tangled up. I think B is good.
Okay.
Because I can't really think of like many other Game Boy games that are like gotta haves.
Right.
I appreciate what it's done, but I'm also glad that we've since moved on.
And that's like the halfway point between my D and your S. So.
Actually, I want to take this time. There's it's my date. This probably going to date the podcast, as though the news section didn't. So there's this little device called a Playdate coming out. It's like this little yellow thing. It's got a black and white display. It's got the control pad and the A and B buttons, and it has like a little crank on the side. And I'm super excited for it. It's coming. Pre-orders are supposed to be opening up soon, and I'm absolutely planning on getting one. But like, I'm super excited for it because it looks like, I don't know. It looks like the most like retro modern gaming device, but it's entirely its own thing, and it's just like really like hammering on those like that nostalgia of like. Of owning a Game Boy, that's just very 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 exciting. And it's gonna have like all original games.
That's cool
and stuff. So I will keep you posted. It's probably gonna be a bit before I'm able to get one. I've been saving up, so I'm gonna pre-order. It just might be a bit before I actually get it in my hands.
Right.
But I will keep you updated. Maybe that could be what's going to be happening with that is they're going to be like I think every week they're going to release 2 games for the system that you can keep forever.
Huh.
So
I have a question.
Sure.
What does the crank do?
So it doesn't charge the device. It's just another way of controlling games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to like, what do you do? Like? Do you have to start it up like an old car or something?
No.
Hold on, I gotta turn it over.
It does not charge the battery, but it is just like another way of controlling the game. So like one of the ones that they showcase the crank being used is like there's this game where you're a robot and you fast forward and rewind time. By turning the crank, and as it's like a side scroller, and so you have to like get the robot to do certain things at certain times, like going forward and back in time.
That sounds pretty cool. I got to look into this.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'll send you a link later.
Okay, cool.
Sorry for that diversion, but like I think that's you could tell kind of from that like the impression that the Game Boy left on me that like I'm very excited about this this new yellow brick.
Right. Yeah, I definitely can. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. I didn't know you had a Game Boy, so.
Yeah. That was the only Nintendo device that I had. It's actually... This is really funny. Like, I forget about it sometimes, but for the longest time, I only knew Mario as the guy on the back of the Game Boy holding a screwdriver.
He's the screwdriver guy.
Yeah, he's the Nintendo guy on the back of my Game Boy. He'll fix my Game Boy if it goes broken.
Specifically that guy.
Specifically Mario will do it.
Right.
He'll take a look at it and he'll fix it right up.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it wasn't until gosh, I guess not long after I get when close to when we met that I think I was starting to get into like emulating classic stuff.
Okay.
You know, playing like Super Mario Land and Super Metroid and stuff like that.
Okay. I vaguely remember you not liking Mega Man back then. It's like it's all coming back to me now. I think I did know that. I think because I remember you drew like a little comic making fun of the fact that he can't aim up or down.
Oh yeah, yeah. See, that's why Samus is better, is because she can aim diagonally.
Yeah. All right, we got to move this along. We got a lot of systems to get through. Super Nintendo.
Okay, well, let me look this up real quick. Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Super Nintendo Entertainment System, SNES, commonly shortened to Super NES or Super Nintendo, is a 16-bit home video game console developed by Nintendo that was released in 1990 in Japan and South Korea, in 1991 in North America, 1992 in Europe and Oceania, and 1993 in South America. In Japan, the system is called the Super Famicom, blah, 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 by Playtronic, although each version is essentially the same. Tell me about it. Don't tell me. I don't care about any of this.
I was going to say, I don't even know what you're talking
about. SNES is Nintendo's second programmable home console following the Nintendo Entertainment System. The console introduced advanced graphics and sound capabilities compared with other systems at the time. The system was designed to accommodate the ongoing development of a variety of enhancement chips integrated into game cartridges to be competitive into the next generation.
Yeah, it was a like really big deal at the time. I mean, I wasn't alive for it, but that's what I've heard. And looking back on it, like the graphical difference, the leap that they went through was just huge. Especially with like Mode 7.
It really, like, I feel like when people think of like retro gaming, they're usually picturing a Super Nintendo game. Just you usually see that it represented that way in like cartoons or comics or whatever.
Right.
That's usually what people are thinking of, which I think implies that it really left a mark on people. I feel like this is when gaming really started to like pop off.
Yep. And the controller too, 4 face buttons and 2 shoulder buttons. Like that was really big. It kind of modernized a lot of. I feel like almost every Nintendo system has like one big thing that it did to revolutionize controllers.
Yeah.
And having rounded grips was one of them. No, I'm just kidding. But it did have rounded grips, which is nice.
Yeah. I like the look and feel of this controller a lot better. Fits a lot nicer in the hands. The face buttons, like two concave and 2 convex buttons, makes it easy to just feel where your thumb is.
Right.
To just kind of know at a moment what you've got.
And the library of games.
Right.
I feel like this is the first like classic Nintendo system that you can go back to, and the games are just as fun now as they were then. Not all of them, but a good amount of them, and not just Nintendo's, but a lot of third party. I was going to mention Mega Man again, but I'll mention something else, like all the SquareSoft RPGs. Capcom made a lot of great games then. Konami did with like Super Castlevania 4, Contra 3, The Alien Wars. Yeah, there were a lot, and there's a lot of hidden gems on the Super Nintendo too. I think more than the NES, I feel. But so I want to put this at S tier. Where are you at? For me, it's S tier.
I'm at like S tier, maybe A tier. I guess I keep looking at this stuff like aesthetically, like how does the console itself look?
The console itself is kind of ugly. That's probably like the one.
Yeah, I really prefer the way that the European version looks. It's a lot rounder. It's a lot softer looking. It looks sleek. It looks futuristic. In a goofy retro sort of a way.
Right. I still like the gray and purple.
The controller has the colored buttons, which I think I like better, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's just because I had a Super Nintendo that I still weirdly prefer like the gray and purple. It's such like a you don't see those 2 colors used a lot for technology these days.
Yeah,
it's like that 90s purple too.
Yeah, but while I do really like a gray purple grays. Like I feel like that's a fun color. The like as an artist, that's a fun color combo. That just works really well together. I just don't like the like it just looks like a weird awkward brick, and I just don't like the American version of the console.
Right.
So I'm gonna put it on. I want to put it on A tier, just because we could have had the better version, and we didn't.
It still works to this day, though. The Super Nintendos, they're pretty reliable, so I feel like that should count for something. The NES is not.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll concede, because mine is more of a nitpick than anything.
Okay.
Objectively, it's just a great console. It has an amazing library of games. I wish that Nintendo would stop drip feeding us Super Nintendo games and just start giving us the goods. Give us Earthbound. Give us Earthbound. And through Earthbound, we got gems like Undertale.
Right.
For better and for worse.
So next up is the Virtual Boy.
I almost want to put this in S tier just because I'm glad that it exists. It's such a bad console.
It was supposed to be a handheld. It's basically just a red pair of goggles on a stand with an awkward controller. And to be fair, I don't own one of these. I really want to, just so I could put it on my shelf. I almost don't need it to work. I've only played one once at a friend's place a long time ago, but man, it's every game was had one of two colors. It was like red or black, and that was it. Or like a couple shades, I guess, of red, but still horrible.
Okay. The Virtual Boy is a 32-bit tabletop portable video game console developed and manufactured by Nintendo. Released in 1995, it was marketed as the first console capable of displaying stereoscopic 3D graphics. The player uses the console like a head-mounted display, placing the head against the eyepiece to see a red monochrome display. The games use a parallax effect to create the illusion of depth. Sales failed to meet targets, and Nintendo ceased distribution and game development in 1996, having released only 22 games for the system.
So I feel like...
So it was only available for a year, and then they were like, can it?
There were only like 15 games or something. I think it was less than 20.
Well, that's like worldwide.
Right.
There were only like there were even fewer released in North America.
Right. I feel like, it's this like amazing joke console, basically like a console that is also a meme.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel like if we're being at all realistic, this is D tier. I mean, I don't know how it can't not be. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. Like, I want to be charitable and say that like it maybe like paved the way for future consoles, but it really didn't, because the one that came immediately after just really blew it out of the water.
Right.
And then the 3DS came and did it so much better, and it's basically like it's just the Super Nintendo, but without Super Nintendo's good games. Like the controller is pretty neat.
It has two D-pads.
Yeah.
Which was used by, I think, one game. Tellero Boxer. Maybe there's another. That's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at that and you can kind of see the precursor to what we now have now, which is like the dual analog controller. Right.
It's also worth noting that the controller, the power to the system itself is held in the controller at the back of the battery pack. So if you nudge it out of place, it stops your game immediately. So that's a very bad design.
That's a great feature, and I love that they put it into this console. I think objectively this has to be a D tier. I'm very sorry, but even memes can't save you, Virtual Boy.
Nintendo 64. So I know where I want to put it.
I like this one.
Okay.
The Nintendo 64, abbreviated as N64, stylized as Nintendo 64, is a home video game console developed and marketed by Nintendo. Blah, blah, blah.
I've heard that one before.
The last major home console to use cartridges as its primary storage format until the Nintendo Switch in 2017. As a fifth-generation console, it competed primarily with the Sony PlayStation and the Sega Saturn. So I feel like... are we just doing Nintendo systems, or are we doing like all consoles?
We're just doing Nintendo systems. So
okay, we'll get to the others.
Yeah.
Which is going to be interesting because I don't know much about Sega. So I'm gonna be going probably by just like hearsay and aesthetics. Okay, so let's talk about this new brown this black box, the gray with the rocket ship controller.
Yeah. I initially I want to say it's A tier. I feel like one could make the debate that it should be B tier, but I think it's A tier. I don't know, where do you stand on this? I kind of like the controller. I know a lot of people don't. It's always funny to hand the controller to someone who's never played an N64 before and like see them like try and like, where do I hold this? How do I hold this?
Yeah, if you haven't grown up with it, and if you haven't like
Yeah.
actually played a few of the games, it can be really confusing. I can actually only think of one game that even uses the control pad, and it's Kirby 64.
Yeah. I thought there was another one.
There probably is, but I.
Oh, I think Pokemon Puzzle League.
That makes sense. Puzzle game is good to have a D-pad on.
Right. I can't imagine playing it with that analog stick.
I've never used it, so I really couldn't tell you.
It's a really nice D-pad.
What is it really?
Yeah, it's super nice, very comfortable. I think the Super Nintendo one's still a little better, but it's a really nice. It's got like that perfect squish to it, you know. Like it's like stiff enough that it feels. It's so weird to talk about a D-pad, but I don't know. Like the Super Nintendo kind of was a lot squishier, if that makes sense. Because it was very easy to rock your thumb on, and that's very important to me. So.
Yeah, well, I know that's very important for like fighting games where you have to do like you kind of have to roll directions in order to.
Yeah, well, platformers too, though. You know, making slight adjustments to your jumps midair.
Yeah. I feel like I'm gonna be a little harsh on my favorite console. I'm gonna say I kind of feel like this is a B tier.
Yeah.
It has like some of my favorite games ever, but I only have like a handful of games on the system. It's kind of like with the Game Boy a little bit, where they're there's a couple of games that I really, really, really like, but then there's also a lot of garbage.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think the controller is amazing. Except for the control stick, which breaks, which is like the first thing to break.
Yep.
Other than that, like having the trigger like right there on your finger is really good. And just I don't know, it never felt uncomfortable for me to hold.
Right.
You got four player support built right in. Have a good time with Mario Party or a bad time. The
Smash Bros started on this system too.
Depending on who you ask. Yeah, Smash Bros got its start. A lot of really good games, but also a lot of really not so good games. You have stuff like Banjo-Kazooie, which is very good. You have stuff like just really weird stuff like Glover, which is like just a really goofy puzzle platformer.
And Earthworm Jim 3D.
Earthworm Jim 3D. Please play that on PC instead if you're gonna play it. don't play it on N64. It's bad.
Or you could just stop there at it's bad.
It's just okay. It's just bad, but it's the worst on N64.
Gotcha. I think I'll concede.
But then you have stuff like Mario 64, Quest 64.
Oh my gosh! You use those two games in the same sentence. Wow, that hurts. I'm not gonna lie. Quest 64 and Super. Wow. You really hate that game, don't you?
I don't like Super Mario 64, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's what this podcast is for, right? Like, I feel like having a controversial opinion on the internet, even if it's something as stupid as like video games, is like it can be frustrating to just to even comment or talk about it. So, I kind of like having this podcast where we can say very controversial opinions. So, as much as I disagree with you, I applaud that you're giving us a different take. So, yeah, I think B tier is fair.
Yeah. But like I admire it immensely for partially because it's the one that I think I grew up next to the PlayStation 1. This was the console that introduced me to the type of game that I love most, which is the 3D platformer.
Yeah.
So like it's got a place solidly in my heart, but I think objectively, it's kind of middle of the road. I think B is where it belongs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Game Boy Color. So
what did we put? What did we put the first Game Boy?
So
on?
Game Boy is currently at B.
Okay.
Here's the thing: if we're not counting backwards compatibility, right, which I just said at the beginning, we're not. I kind of feel like Game Boy Color is D tier, maybe C tier at best. There are so few like original Game Boy Color games that I think are genuinely good. Like this is one of those systems that you pick up because it has those few Game Boy Color games and the entire Game Boy library.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you were to look at just its own library of games, it's what, like Pokemon Crystal and the Oracle games? Like I can't even think of any other like there's a few smaller ones like Shantae.
There's Mario Bros Deluxe.
But that's a port even, see.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah.
It had a really terrible Donkey Kong Country port. So there's a something.
I would say that well, here, hold on. I have to do
I guess we got to
Game Boy.
I feel like we got to put it at least C now though because I'm looking at it and like I can't it's not Virtual Boy levels.
Well, hold on. I gotta read about it first and then we'll see. And then I have to pull up the picture so I can actually look at it. The Game Boy Color, commonly abbreviated as GBC, is a handheld game console manufactured by Nintendo. Blah, blah, blah. Features a color screen rather than monochrome, but it is not backlit. It is slightly thicker and taller and features a slightly smaller screen than the Game Boy Pocket, its immediate predecessor in the Game Boy line. As with the original Game Boy, it has a custom 8-bit processor made by Sharp that is considered a hybrid between the Intel 8080 and the Zilog Z80. The American English spelling of the game system's name, Game Boy Color, remains consistent throughout the world. So that's interesting.
I guess it makes sense.
Did not know that. I think the aesthetics of this device, like it came out like not only to display do color, which is pretty cool. Basically, the Game Boy was like a portable Nintendo Entertainment System.
Right.
So like having a color display to go with that, I feel like it is kind of like that's a bonus.
Right. It's a great looking console. It's very comfortable. It's smaller than the Game Boy, so it's very. I mean, I can't speak to the Pocket. I've actually never used one, so.
Yeah.
But and I love the colors. The colors are so good. I have the lime green one that's actually here on the tier list.
The shell came in like so many different colors. Like you had solids, but then I think you also had was Atomic Purple the only see-through one, or were there other see-through Game Boys?
I only remember Atomic Purple.
I feel like
because I know the 64
like
had a bunch, but they had like the green jungle Donkey Kong one, and they had like the see-through kind of reddish pink one. But yeah, I think the only one I remember that was see-through was the what was it? The Atomic Purple.
Yeah, I feel like if you were going to get a Game Boy, like this is the Game Boy to get.
Yeah, of the
because it's backwards compatible and because it's aesthetically pleasing, better battery life, better display, for whatever that means back in the day.
Still wasn't backlit though. That is a little bit of an issue. I still remember those days of like having to angle the system just to catch the light without reflecting it back into my eyes and causing a glare.
Do you remember the accessories like the magnification lens and the worm light?
I never had that one. I had the light. I never had the lens.
I had the lens, and I think was it for no? I think I had it for the Game Boy Advance.
I had a clamshell for the Game Boy Advance that was a light.
I don't think I ever had that. But yeah, I feel like it should stand solidly next to the original Game Boy. Because like the original like introduced a whole new world of portable gaming, and the color is like the definitive version of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like I guess the only issue I have with that is again on its own merits. It's hard to rank this one just because of that. Like the Game Boy's legacy is such a huge part of this, all of its games. Yeah, I guess we can put it in B.
You can't do half tiers, can you?
I can create I can literally create another category.
Nah. If we do that, then none of this matters.
Okay, so Game Boy Advance.
Game Boy Advance. I had a purple. I had the purple one.
I had the see-through purple one.
Oh. My sister had the see-through pink one.
I didn't know they made one.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Game Boy Advance is a 32-bit handheld game console developed, manufactured, and marketed by Nintendo. That's really cool. What does it tell me about it? The original model does not have an illuminated screen. Nintendo addressed that with the release of a redesigned model with a front-lit screen, the Game Boy Advance SP. I'm not here for the SP.
Well, the SP is included because there's not a separate category. So, and that makes it a little bit weird because the SP is so much better than the original Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
Like I like the buttons and D-pad better on the original model, but I can't go back to not having a backlit screen.
Is the SP really like in the same? Because so what differentiates like the like classic Game Boy from Game Boy Color and the like Advance and the SP are the same?
Library.
How does that figure? Library?
Yeah, because I mean, like, think about it this way, right? The 2DS was released, and that was part of the 3DS family, but it was like a flat wedge. I mean, it was completely different.
Oh, so, okay, yeah, I get you.
Yeah, so as long as it doesn't have its own library of games, it's still part of like that family.
Okay, but then that does make it difficult to judge because like how do you look at it? Do you look at the first one? Do you look at everything that came after? How do you measure?
Yeah.
How do you rank something like that?
Right. I mean, I kind of feel like just because the SP exists, I have to put it a little higher than I would have. The Game Boy Advance is another one where, like, it has some absolutely amazing games, but like I'm gonna say at least like 7/8 of its library is just complete garbage because it was the easiest, cheapest platform to develop for. So we got so many like bad sports games and bad licensed titles, and just like really bad ports of old games. Like I remember Earthworm Jim was on there, and it was so zoomed in you couldn't see half the jumps you were making.
Yeah, I actually have that game, the Game Boy Advance cartridge.
Do you really?
Somewhere in my house. No, and it might actually be in my GameCube.
Really?
Because I have the Game Boy player.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, I remember I had to write like a report to my parents about like why I thought I should have a Game Boy Advance. It apparently worked because I did get one.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So like yeah, I agree. Like there's some phenomenal stuff. Like you have the Mario Advance games, which like those are technically ports, but they kind of spruce them up.
Right,
And it basically like the Advance was a portable Super Nintendo.
Yeah, yeah, it really was. We had like a couple of F-Zero games that looked just like the 16-bit original.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best 2D Zelda, the best 2D Zelda game ever made. Minish Cap.
Minish Cap, yeah.
So charming.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. I keep like I downloaded the soundtrack not too long ago, and I keep like I'll play it for background music while I'm doing like art streams.
That's cool.
And like I adore the soundtrack. I really like the Game Boy Advance's sound chip. Like I know that like similar to the Super Nintendo, like it's basically like a lot of samples,
yeah,
and stuff. But like even like the generated sound notes and whatnot are it's just like it has this like fuzzy buzzy charm to it that is just so warm and good.
Yeah, the forest theme is like my favorite from that game.
Yeah,
it's so good. Yeah, so that two amazing Metroid games.
Mm-hmm.
We got some weird games like Mario's Pinball Land. We did get the start of the Mario and Luigi games. Superstar Saga is an amazing game.
A lot of really good stuff. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah, a lot of ports too. But I think I don't know. I think there's a lot of good original stuff on there too.
Yeah. I know that I said this about the Game Boy Color, but I wasn't thinking about the Advance.
Yeah.
But if you were going to have a Game Boy, this would be the one to have.
I didn't want to interrupt you at the time, but I was like, just wait. Particularly
well, don't
the
worry,
SP.
because now that I'm thinking about it, it's not the last time I'll say it, probably.
This is the last Game Boy, though, so... I would say SP. Buy an SP if you're gonna...
Yeah,
It's got the backlight. It's got the clamshell
if you can get the one with like the super bright.
Yeah. I never had that one.
Oh, I saw that one in stores, and I was like, oh man.
I remember I remember the advertising, like the promotional stuff of like it had a bunch of people like sitting in their driveways with just beams of light coming up like all over the neighborhood. I don't know why, but that for whatever reason made me want to buy one. But so, do you think
I want to light up my neighborhood?
What do you think? A? B? I think A.
I think A is good, because it while it's backwards compatible with every Game Boy game prior,
right?
It stands solidly on its own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, it's just a really nice looking device,
and it's got Pinobi on it.
It does have Pinobi on it.
Do you even know about that game?
I do, actually.
Wow, you're the only other person ever that I was making that joke thinking it was going over your head.
I had like a game magazine that I poured over endlessly. It had like I think the reason I had it was because it had a strategy guide for Rayman Advance, which is a game that I owned. But it also had a strategy guide for Pinobi and one of the Castlevania games.
Was it Curse of the Moon?
So, I can't.
That was the first one, and that probably would have released the same year as those other two. So probably.
Probably, yeah. So yeah,
well, Castlevania,
I do know. I do know about Pinobi.
Wow. You're literally the only other human being in existence that has gotten that reference. This is such a magical moment for me right now.
I'm glad that I could be sharing this with you. That's amazing.
I thought you were just like being sarcastic at first when I mentioned it.
No, he jumps and he starts falling and his head gets super big.
Yep. That's such a weird game.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Wow. Okay.
There's like like there's a golden enemy that you have to hunt down, and if you don't, then like enemies are harder on the next stage.
There's one per level up until like the last half of the world where there's like 1 million of them to find. It's so weird, and they don't tell you that there's like, it's like there's one golden enemy in this level, and then like suddenly there's 37 golden enemies in this level. I'm like, what?
Why? Yeah, I remember all of that just from the guide.
That's crazy. So we got to move on here. We're running out of, not literally running out of time, but we should speed it up.
We're running a bit long.
Right. Nintendo GameCube.
Yes. The Nintendo GameCube is a home video game console released by Nintendo. Entering the 6th generation of video game consoles and the successor to their previous console, the N64, competed with the PlayStation 2 and Microsoft's Xbox. First console to use optical discs. Focused on gaming. Did support online gaming. Connect to a Game Boy Advance.
That was a cool feature. I never had that add-on, but...
Reception of the GameCube was generally positive. The console was praised for its controller, extensive software library, and high-quality games, but was criticized for its exterior design and lack of features. Who would look at this good cube, this good purple cube... Who would look at this cube and say, ew, no, I don't like that.
It's so charming.
That's a bad cube.
It's also super quiet.
Yeah.
And they put out like some of the best graphics of any of the like Dreamcast, PS2, and Xbox. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I this has to be S tier, right? Like, can we agree on that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. I was like, this is like the most S tier I think any of these systems on this list can be.
No, like no. This like you got bangers. You got Super Mario Sunshine. You got Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door. You got
the Metroid Prime games.
You got Metroid Prime 1 and 2.
Luigi's Mansion. Sorry, I keep cutting you.
Luigi's Mansion. No, you're good.
Sonic Heroes.
Sonic Heroes is on the list. What I think,
Pikmin.
I haven't played much of it, but Pikmin. What's the F-Zero one?
F-Zero GX.
Were there two?
No, there's just the one.
F-Zero GX, which is like the last one they ever made,
and the best. Also made by Sega, ironically.
You got The Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker.
Yep. Resident Evil 4. That's huge.
Yeah. So like
Melee.
I mean, like banger after banger. Like I feel like
Double Dash.
This,
the Mario Party
like
games.
every it's just like solid hitters, like all the time. And like yes, they're like it had the same problem that I think the Game Boy Advance had, and like really any console if you think about it, where there's a lot of garbage out there.
Right.
There's a lot of garbage. But like overwhelmingly there's just so many good picks.
Right.
Dash
and the Giant. Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing made its debut. Still one of my favorite games in the series.
Well, I guess. Well, it made its debut in North America.
Right. Which is what
we're on the GameCube. It was technically an N64 game first, but that was just in Japan.
Right.
But still.
To what we didn't know any better as Americans.
Yeah.
And Odama, that was that human pinball game with samurai and a giant head with spider legs and a microphone to give orders to your troops.
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite.
The bongo controllers.
Donkey Kong Jungle
bongo
Beat. Controllers. Beautiful Joe.
That's right, yeah.
We're just to anybody who's never played a GameCube game and doesn't know any of these, we're just saying like the most buck wild nonsense. So this is a good cube. I love this cube.
Yep.
It's a good controller as well. The D-pad is not good, but that's like the only bad thing about it.
It's neither good nor is it in a good location for your thumb to be. I don't know how long your thumb has to be able to reach that comfortably, but other than that, yeah, it's a great controller, and I think it's really the last generation they could get away with doing something like that. Like, I think it fits the GameCube perfectly, but I think had they continued to do controllers in that style with, like, a tiny little C stick down here and then, like, face buttons in all kinds of weird places, I think it just kind of came in at the right time, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's
Star
perfect.
Fox Adventures.
Yeah.
Star Fox Assault.
Yep. I love Adventures so much.
Adventures is just, it's so charming.
It really is.
It's just so sincere.
Right.
In just a weird way.
And it's also one of the best looking games on the system. That and like the original, like the 2 Metroid Prime games. Those 2 games look so much better than anything on like the original Xbox. And that system was supposed to be way more powerful. So I don't know. There was like some technical wizardry going on at Nintendo during that generation. I mean, Sunshine looks great. Luigi's Mansion looks great. There were just some like really solid, not just, you know, gameplay, but also visuals. And so many good soundtracks. And Pikmin. Did I mention Pikmin?
You did mention Pikmin. There's 2 of them.
Yeah.
3 technically.
What?
And there's only going to be 3.
Apparently. Hey, don't forget about, hey, Pikmin.
There's only going to be 4.
I thought you were still going to say there's still only going to be 3. Yeah, I don't know what else we can say about the GameCube. It had an adorable handle on the back, too. That's a bonus.
Yeah.
That makes it S+, too.
It had... and if that weren't good enough, remember how I said that the Game Boy Advance was the Game Boy to get if you wanted to play Game Boy games? Well, let me introduce you to the Game Boy Player add-on. You just slap this thing on the bottom of your console, and you just ding dang darn play Game Boy games on your TV.
Yeah, so both of our S-tier games play Game Boy games, have adapters. Because the Super Nintendo has the Super Game Boy. That recolorizes them and adds like little fun borders.
I couldn't do Game Boy Color games though.
No,
right?
no, it was just original Game Boy. Okay, so we got to move on. Nintendo DS.
We got to move it. DS, S tier.
S tier.
I'm gonna come out the gate and say S tier.
I'm
Nintendo DS.
I'm thinking A, but it's close. It's close for me.
Nintendo DS is a handheld game console produced by Nintendo, released globally across 2004 and 2005. The DS, an initialism for developer's system, or dual screen if you're fancy, introduced distinctive new features to handheld games. 2 LCD screens working in tandem, the bottom one being a touchscreen, a built-in microphone, and support for wireless connectivity. Both screens are encompassed within a clamshell design similar to the Game Boy Advance SP. Nintendo DS also features the ability for multiple DS consoles to directly interact with each other over Wi-Fi within a short range without the need to connect to an existing wireless network. Alternatively, they could interact online using the now-defunct Nintendo Wi-Fi connection service. I'm sure that this is really fun to listen to.
That is huge, though, because I don't know if you had a link cable back in the day, but not only was it difficult to get people together like to use the link cable, it was also the slowest thing ever. Like, you'd think having a wired connection would make it faster, but no. So, yeah, like, car trips, though, were so much fun. Like, my sister and I would play Mario Kart all the time. Because you could just be in, like, different seats and be connecting with one copy of the game. It was super cool.
Yeah. Does the is the DSi
So
part of
it is. That was the one. This is a weird one because there are technically like DSiWare games, and I think there's one DSi game that I know exists, and I can't remember the name of it. It might be a Monster Rancher game or something. I don't know. But yeah, DSi is technically still part of the DS family. So that gets weird too, because now that introduces an online storefront with indies. Although let's be real, like DSiWare was not very good.
Okay, well let's try and like go over the features that are like in the family.
Right.
So
two screens, touchscreen on the bottom, which was a huge innovation back in the day. That this was was before smartphones, so it was like really cool to be able to touch and like draw things and move things all around. Like we take that for granted now, but that was like super exciting as a kid.
Yeah. Not to mention, if you ever wanted a way to play Game Boy games and you thought that the GameCube was too big and heavy to carry around, well, let me tell you. I think
this
the
only plays...
original DS could only do Game Boy Advance, correct?
They both only did Game Boy Advance, I believe.
Okay. So the original and the Lite were the only ones that could do Game Boy games.
Correct. Specifically Game Boy Advance. Right. So if you want to play all the Game Boy family games, SP or GameCube with the Game Boy player is still your best option, but if you're specifically looking for GBA games, yeah, you can't go wrong with the DS. Also, it has an amazing library. And this was in that era when Nintendo was kind of going for the blue ocean thing. So not only were we getting really cool new like hardcore Nintendo games like the Marios and Zeldas and everything, and Metroids, because that was a thing that existed back then. But we were also getting like really new, weird experimental things like Rhythm Heaven, and what was that one game? I know there's like a drum game in Japan.
Taiko?
No, there was. It's a thing with like Barbara the Bat or something. But I'm trying to think of Elite Beat Agents. That was the one I was trying to think of. So there was like a bunch of really weird experimental stuff like that, and it was really cool because the DS could actually do fully 3D games, which I mean the Game Boy Advance could kind of, but not really. And so like we kind of got a good mix of like 2D sprite work games and then also fully 3D games like Metroid Prime Hunters.
Yeah, I sometimes regret, when I'm thinking back over my many years, I regret. I remember my mom asking me like, are you sure that you want to get the Game Boy Advance SP, or do you want to get this new thing, the DS that's coming out? And I remember saying, no, I don't think I really want to get the one where you draw on the screen all the time, and then coming to regret that. Like I loved the Game Boy Advance, but I couldn't help feeling a little bit left out. Because everybody else was playing Pokemon and Nintendogs and whatever else. It was everybody was like losing their minds
Brain Age.
over this.
That was
thing.
another big one.
Yeah. So I feel like if I had one, it would definitely have resonated very hard with me. I did get to my cousin had one, and I got to play it a couple of times. Whenever I got to visit him, I remember staying up super late playing Pokemon. And that was when I was too young to realize that Splash doesn't do anything. And I ran out of power for all my other moves, and so I just had this little Wallimer doing Splash, and I just had to sit there and like it was like a trainer battle, so I couldn't run,
Oh wow.
So I just had to endure endure being worn down. So that's a fond memory that I have. I think I like the features that the DSi did. I think more than anything, I really like the interface, like all the tools and toys and whatnot that are like baked into the OS. Like there's like the photo app and like you can record sound. It's got a media player and stuff like that.
Yeah, you could like add little stickers and everything like before Instagram was really a thing. Could like spruce up your
I just
pictures.
I really wish that there were more like toy like game consoles like that.
Yeah.
Come on, just make a new 3DS. Make a 4DS Nintendo, but bring back the fun. Bring back the fun stuff, the fun OS.
Yeah,
that's what I really like about this stuff. Is like the operating system of the DS is just like
the DSi.
the DSi is just like this is it, and the 3DS to an extent.
Right.
Like this is what a console should be like.
Yeah, it's not.
Even if I'm not playing a game, I still have something to do.
Right.
I still have like but it basically it's like having a funky little computer.
Yeah, you're right.
In your hands, and I just there's something just exquisitely special about that to me that I feel like has kind of been passed over.
Right. We'll get to that in more detail, maybe. Yeah, I actually have all three. I don't have the DSi XL, but I do have an original thick DS. I have a DS Lite, and then I also have the DSi. So I gave Nintendo a lot of money that generation. Yeah, I love this thing. I think the fact that it can play Game Boy Advance games is just like the icing on top of the cake for this one.
Yeah, well, it's the icing on top of like an already substantial
Right.
cake because the DS library is just so big and it lasted for like what?
2004 to
2013
right.
It says.
Yeah. It was really 2012. There were a few like trickled out games in 2013, but yeah.
$150 on release. That's pretty good.
Yeah. And it shipped with that Metroid Prime First Hunt demo.
Yeah.
And that thing controlled horribly, but wow, I was like blown away.
It was a proof of concept.
Right. They fixed the controls for Prime Hunters, so. Yeah, I would say the DS's library is actually even better than the GBA. I don't know if you would agree with that, but I think it's substantially better.
I mean, you certainly get more garbage.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like for every garbage game out there's like 4 or 5 good ones.
Right. Games like Ghost Trick.
Yeah. Ghost Trick's so good. They need to bring that over to the Switch. Right.
Yeah, so I'm thinking.
So we gotta rank this. I think it's got to go on the S tier.
Yeah, I think we've talked me into it. I was thinking A at first, but I think you made a lot of good points, and then yeah, I think you talked me into S tier. Nintendo Wii. I kind of feel like everyone knows what this is already.
Yeah, if you don't know what a Nintendo Wii is, then just go look under your TV, and I'm sure you'll find that one is manifested under there.
I was gonna say, go ask your grandma. Like everyone's grandma was playing these.
Yeah, well, everybody
Right.
was playing one of these.
Yeah, not specifically. It wasn't specifically targeting.
I remember my mom one time. She joked about how like it just jumped into her shopping cart and she brought it home. She just brought a Wii home one day.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. So we had Wii Sports, and I think we had a couple other games.
So I'd actually been
Hold
saving
on.
up for one. I think it was like around the summer of 2007, I want to say. So it launched in November of 2006. And I wasn't sure about it at first, but like after a couple months, I was like, okay, I need one of these things. So I was saving up money, and then I was out with, ironically, my grandmother, and she, like, they were, I don't know if you remember, they were super hard to find when they first came out. So they were getting
Yeah.
a new shipment at the time, and she had heard that and was like, okay, I'm going to get one of these for you for Christmas. But then it had to sit in our basement, and I knew it was there for like 6 months. It was excruciating.
Oh.
But man, did I have a lot of games to play in 2007, Christmas of 2007. So, yeah, I think this is another one that, like, this is another kind of blue ocean console where it had the big games like Super Mario Galaxy and, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, Metroid Prime 3, Brawl, all those kind of games you expect from a Nintendo system. But then it also had like a lot of weird new things like Endless Ocean. Had like was a Big Brain Academy. A lot of weird like just kind of Wii Sports is another one of those. They had a whole line of Wii games like Wii Play, Wii Fit.
Yeah. This was the introduction of the Me characters.
Right. Which I wish they'd go back to using. It's so
Yeah.
depressing that
I'm kind of hoping that like sales numbers from Utopia will push them, push them to bring them back, but we'll see.
Right.
Maybe when they announce the successor to the 3DS, they'll bring them back. I don't know. I just want a fun video game toy
Right.
to play with a fun operating system.
and the Wii was like a perfect companion to the DS too.
Yeah. Well, it also, I think, more so than the DS, specifically the DSi, it more so kind of paved the way for like digital purchases and stuff,
Yeah.
like with WiiWare. Lots of WiiWare stuff.
And Virtual Console. But yeah, WiiWare gave us such hits as Grill Off with Ultra Hand.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And
I was trying to think of some other ones. Fluidity, that one was pretty fun. I played
Yeah.
the demo. I never actually had the
we
whole
also-
game, but
we also got the Virtual Console, so like tons of retro games, and not just Nintendo stuff either.
right. And you have to remember, like, when this came out, it already had backwards compatibility with GameCube, so you could literally play games from every Nintendo generation. That was like mind blowing to me back in the day, because I was obsessed with classic games. So I spent a lot of money on the Virtual Console.
Plus, now that I don't know if this should count. It's you can hack it, and just you can put like whatever on it, and you've got like a little. I mean, I up to a point. Like you can put any Super Nintendo game on it, any NES game,
Right.
any Game Boy game. It's just like so wild.
Right.
This thing had, I guess, probably as many. If there was a DS game, there was a Wii version of it, and vice versa.
Yeah, there were quite a few.
I guess you could also say that about the Game Boy Advance to some extent, but the DS kind of.
Yeah. The Game Boy Advance version, though, was usually, like, objectively worse. Which I feel like wasn't always
Yeah.
the case with the DS. So, are you thinking A or S for... This is a tough one.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards S, because like everybody made fun of like how low powered it was,
Yeah.
but everybody also had one.
Right. Plus, it had Super Mario Galaxy, so that's like one of
Yeah,
the most
yeah.
near perfect video games.
Yeah. Well, I think the second one is better.
Oh, well, there's a debate coming up.
That's there's another hot take.
This night has been full of them. The 3DS.
3DS.
I feel like we're going to add another one to the S tier. I'm going to be honest, I think this is Nintendo's best handheld ever. I think they just, having analog movement, having, pretty close to a GameCube in level of performance, like 3D graphics, and like it took everything that the DS did, right, with having like a mix of 2D games and 3D games, and it just kind of pushed it that much further.
Mm-hmm. It was like everything that the DSi and the Nintendo Wii were packaged in a little handheld and also 3D.
Right. And also like probably had the best library. Like it has some garbage games, but I think the level of shovelware to genuinely good games is like way different than the past like Game Boy and DS platforms.
Yeah, I think so too. It was backwards compatible with everything that came out for the DS, and while that's don't really count that in considering it, it's worth noting because that is like a massive library. If you wanted a DS, this is the DS to get.
And then they released the new 3DS that had the tiny little C-stick, which basically was an eraser that somehow took camera movements. So, and I think used by all of 6 games. Still cool though. Especially if you're a Monster Hunter fan, you needed one of these things to play Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I think it went even further with. Well, no, the Wii I think still had the better Virtual Console library.
It did, yeah.
Like the 3DS still had a really good library, but it wasn't as expansive as
the 3DS focused more on handheld, so it had a bunch of Game Boy and Game Boy Color Virtual Console games. They started to add NES after a while, and for whatever reason, exclusive to the new 3DS are Super Nintendo games. I don't know why the original 3DS wouldn't have had the processing power of a Super Nintendo, but
which is the latest news we've had about Earthbound.
Yeah. Actually, the last release we had was on the Super Nintendo Classic Edition.
Oh, okay. Well, there's that.
If you could manage to find one.
I haven't completely forgotten. Yeah, they stopped making them, didn't they? Which sucks.
Yeah. I waited out in line out in front of a Toys R Us for about 4 hours to get one. But I met some cool people, so overall positive experience.
Well, there you go. I really like this thing. Like I just aesthetically, it's just a really fun little device. I like the size of it. I think for playing games, the XL version is definitely the way to go. But like you can't deny that like any way you shake it, the 3DS is really good.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think any of the versions, like I think they're all really solid. Even like the 2DS, for like as far as controls and accessibility to buttons.
Yeah, I kind of still want to get one of the. Oh gosh, this is kind of the start of the. I guess the DSi really was, but the start of like the just overwhelming naming convention. The Nintendo 2DS XL.
Yes, because it was the 3DS, then the 3DS XL, then the 2DS, then the new 3DS, new 3DS XL, and then the new 2DS XL, even though there wasn't a 2DS XL for there to be a new version of, but somehow there was. But new was not denoting that it was newer. It was denoting it was part of the new line, and therefore had the new features. Yeah, it was weird. But yeah, I've heard the new 2DS. I have a friend who has one, and it's a really solid platform.
Yeah. Like the 3D is really cool. If you get stuff like Super Mario 3D Land, it's a fun little romp. I think that's a fun little platformer. There are like some challenges that like are really really helped by having 3D. Right. But like overall, it's just kind of gimmicky. It's not really necessary. Right. So like having it on 2DS is fine with me.
Samus Returns, I will say, for whatever reason, you wouldn't expect it, but it's one of the best looking games with stereoscopic 3D. It's like the depth of field is like so good.
It's a shame we won't be getting that from Metroid Dread.
Yeah. I'm just happy it exists though.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. We gotta try and speed it up. So I'm gonna say
we got 2 left. So Wii U. We already put S tier for 3DS.
Yeah. Oh, real quick, I want to give a huge shout out to Street Pass as like the best.
Oh yeah.
The best thing that Nintendo has ever done. It was like the coolest game. Like even if the games themselves were kind of ho hum, there were so many of them, and like you could play them all. Like they were. It's genius because like you can't like spend so much time on these games. Like you have to go out and pass people that also have a 3DS in order to play these games. And so like you only get to play like a couple of turns in a game, and then like, okay, well, I'm done with that one. And then you move on to the next one. And you have like a whole bunch of them. And they even released more later on.
Street Pass was just like so cool. I forgot about that because like I feel like Nintendo did, but I kind of wish they'd done something like that with the Switch. There's so many people now with Switches.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm saying like if they do something as like a successor to the 3DS specifically, I sincerely hope that they bring Street Pass back or something like it. Because that was my absolute favorite feature of the console.
And who can forget Face Raiders?
And who could forget Face Raiders?
I didn't have any games. I used up all my money to get a 3DS on launch. So I spent a lot of time with AR cards and Face Raiders. A lot. Okay, so moving on, Wii U. So you've only played one. You never actually owned one.
Yeah, I've never owned one. I've wanted to get one, just because like I think there are a couple of games for it that would be nice to have, and probably for homebrew purposes it would be a good console.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it at A tier, unless you disagree. I think it was an unfortunate console, but it had a really cool library of games. It's still like the party machine. There's so many 5-player games on the Switch. So many great like co-op and competitive asymmetrical multiplayer games. And
on the Wii U.
Yeah, and the operating system was actually really cool, I thought.
Yeah, I really wish that I could say more about it, but I think one of my favorite things about like this generation of consoles, that one of the things I've mentioned a couple times is like the operating system like goes so much towards the feel of a console, which is I think one of the reasons that I like the DSi and the 3DS so much. It's like it just feels like a funky fun little computer, with its own OS going on.
Yeah, it was also one of those.
So
you hear a lot of people give the Wii U a ton of crap because it didn't have a lot of games, but it's like it didn't have a lot of third-party games. There were a lot of really good first-party games. They weren't always like the big 3D adventure games that people wanted, and I think that's part of why it gets a bad rap. But like the fact that so many people are begging for all these Wii U ports, I think should tell you something.
Yeah, I think like it's supremely unfortunate that it didn't have a strong third party support, but you can't argue when you've got hits like Mario Kart 8 and Super Smash Bros.
Nintendo
for
Land.
Wii U, Nintendo Land.
That's like the weirdest, best game on the system.
Yeah, that was like the that was packed in.
It was,
wasn't it?
yeah. Only with the $250 version. Or I think it was the $300 version.
But that was like that was the Wii Sports
Right.
of the Wii U.
And it's like a lot of people missed it because it was like, oh, it wasn't anything big like Wii Sports, but it's so much better. And it had like really cool single player stuff. It had cooperative adventure stuff, like it had the Zelda and Pikmin and Metroid games that were really fun to play with friends. And then it had the three best for competitive multiplayer, the Mario Chase, Luigi's Ghost Mansion, and Animal Crossing Sweet Day, which everyone who has played those games like just has fallen in love with them. They're so good. They're so much fun. There's just nothing like them in the industry and probably will never be again. Because it's couch co-op. Like there's stuff kind of like that now online, like asymmetrical multiplayer, but there's just nothing quite like being in the same room, having 5 people, like one of them chasing you down, or having a bunch of people with Wii remotes like cooperating to take out Mario. They're very simple, but they're so much fun.
Yeah, I think that like this was an amazing console. It's just such a shame that it. I feel like calling it the Wii U confused a lot of people.
Right.
It didn't have a good launch lineup, and I don't know. I feel like A tier is good. Is a good spot for this. Like I think this is a great console, and it's a crying shame that it wasn't loved by more people.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And that brings us to our last one, the Nintendo Switch.
The Nintendo Switch. We're kind of in the middle of the road, middle of the life cycle for the Switch. It feels.
Yeah, we're on the. According to them, we're on like the back half at this point. But if their past consoles or anything,
it feels.
Sorry.
Can I just say it feels so weird to remember being excited for the launch of the Switch and to now be hearing about us on the last half of its life cycle.
Right?
That is just the weirdest sensation.
It's bizarre.
I feel I'm old.
I felt that way when the
like
Wii U
it.
got replaced. Like halfway through its life. Because like the Wii U started out the generation. It was the one competing against the PS4 and Xbox One, not the Switch. The Switch just kind of came in halfway through and was like, okay, yeah, that thing's dead. Like, this is the new thing. So, as far as ranking this one, I don't know where you feel about it. I'm thinking A. I don't think this is an S, and I have a lot of arguments against that. I think like having a portable console that like you can dock and then play on the TV and then instantly just pick it up and keep playing, that concept is super, super strong. I just feel like this was a very rushed platform. It probably was, given that they were trying to quickly replace the Wii U. But it has a lot of technical issues. It has a terrible OS, a really bad eShop with no music, by the way. How do you do an eShop without music? Anywhere. I don't know.
Yeah, it is so like I think like the thing that I've heard is that like the entire operating system is like under 20 kilobytes or something, which is like great, I guess, if you know, on the one hand that's great because everything on the Switch loads really fast. You know, it doesn't take you long at all to get to any of the menus, but it doesn't have like even a fraction of the charm of things like the Wii, the 3DS, the Wii U, which like has like a lot of like really fun like ambient tones. Like every menu has a theme.
Right.
Um,
And it got rid of Miiverse. I genuinely, in a weird way, enjoyed Miiverse. So
Yeah. It feels like it's lacking a lot of the charm of the prior console.
It does have some
generations.
pretty great games, though.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
probably some of the best indie support of any Nintendo system. So
Yeah, absolutely.
solid A for me, but I don't feel like I can give it S tier. I mean, we're not through the generation, but let's be real, they're not going to fix some of the bigger issues.
Can we?
At this point, I think
We're
Joy-Con drift is just part of this generation.
we're going to be doing more of these. Presumably, I guess putting them all on the same list, right?
Sure,
Um,
that makes sense.
maybe we can put this on A for now, and we can do a review, a reanalysis later on, should we so desire.
Okay. Sure. So I can run back through what we have. S tier is Super Nintendo, GameCube, DS, Wii, and 3DS. A tier is Game Boy Advance, Wii U, and Nintendo Switch. B tier, Game Boy, Nintendo 64, and Game Boy Color. C tier, all by itself, is the NES. And then D tier is just Virtual Boy.
To no one's surprise. Alrighty. Well, I think that we've just about done it.
We did it. A somewhat possibly controversial ranking of Nintendo systems.
Yeah, I hope that you enjoyed hearing us talk about why we do or don't love these systems so much.
I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that.
Join us next time as we do it again. We'll probably have something different next time.
Yeah. We'll try and plan it out a little better.
Yeah.
That's not our strong suit, but
We have a couple. We have a couple of ideas that we're
Right.
looking to do.
okay. So I think we should go ahead and skip the backlog for next week. Just kind of move it to next week's.
Yeah, I think we're running a little long here, so best to.
Right.
And
And that'll give you more time to play Dishonored, I believe, is the game that you've chosen.
yes.
And then I need more time with my game anyways, so that works out pretty well.
Cool.
I was also hoping the game that I chose is actually a Doug recommendation, so I was kind of hoping that Doug would be on this episode. So we might be having a third member next week, possibly. So we'll see. So I guess we'll just just kind of highlight the Podratix Game Club again. We are currently doing Sonic the Hedgehog on Sega Genesis. And we're going to be talking about that. Well, I guess that'll be next week's discussion, although that could be... I don't know if that'll be as long as Yooka-Laylee. Probably not.
No, I don't think so, because it's a significantly shorter game, and
Right.
I think it'll be easier to tackle.
Right.
But how will it stack when we have to put it on the tier list? Oh, we should. That's what we should do with our book club games. Is we should put them on a tier list.
That's actually a really good idea.
And
That's
like,
a really good
and like
idea.
at the end of a year, we have like this chart that we can look back over, and maybe we can
That's a fantastic idea.
give some more thoughts about. I don't know. Could be fun.
Yeah. No, that's actually like really cool.
Alrighty. Well, let's wrap this up. I gotta go eat.
Right. It's 11:15 currently
Yeah.
when we're recording this. That's PM. And you're just now going to eat. Okay, cool. Not judging.
Well, we started at like 8.
That's true. And then we talked for like an hour before hitting record.
Yeah.
So. All right, so that was our show for this week. I hope you enjoyed it was a very different show. I feel like almost every episode is something very different.
Yeah, but you know,
So
that's
maybe that's a good thing.
That's one of the things that you can count on, is that you can't count on anything. So don't count us out.
That's true. All right, thanks for listening, everyone.
All right, take care. Have a good time. Goodbye.